Hey, welcome to another episode of The Naked Turner. Today I'm doing a little something different. I'm doing some segmenting, and I started out by using my wedgie sled. If you haven't looked up wedgie sled online, look up wedgie sled and segmentology. If you look up wedgie sled and segmentology, you'll find some links. There's a way to make the wedgie sled, total open source freeware on a design drawing for you, and a video on how to make it. Plenty of other videos out there on YouTube as well on how to make the wedgie sled. I would highly advise, if you are doing any type of segmenting of any kind, make yourself a wedgie sled. Watch all of the segmentology videos. Anyway, I want to show you what I'm working on with the wedgie sled. Here's my simple little wedgie sled, which I cut all of my segments using, and I don't have any video on this video of me using this, although I do have some other videos showing wedgie sled cutting. But anyway, you can watch plenty of videos about how to cut with the wedgie sled, but what I'm going to show you today is what I did cut. So here I have a stack of rings, which I've glued up, this one today, but the rest of these yesterday, and I'm just kind of letting them all cure up out here. And these are 2 1/4 inch by 1 1/2 inch, 2 1/4 inch tall by 1 1/2 inch thick wedges, which are now all stacked into stacks here. And then in the shop, let me go in here. Here I have one which I have my jaws expanded into, and I've faced off both sides, and now I've worked at getting this very square to the 2 edges. And that's because I want to slice this ring into 2 different rings, maybe even 3. I'm going to take a look at it. So I have a sled for my mini table saw, and then I made myself a little fixture here to hold this piece so that I could do multiple passes through safely, keeping my hands out of the way, and end up with 2 rings. So I just cut through till I got through to the last little bit, and then turned the saw off, and there you go. I got a pretty nice clean cut here. See if you can see that, a pretty good clean cut. There's a couple little saw kerf lines here, but easily sandable, or I'll probably just stick it on my lathe again and resurface it. This side got a really clean cut because it was the side that was in here up against this fence, so it was nicely clamped. And this side was the offcut side, and I didn't have a lot of pressure on this. I just had it lightly clamped in there so that it couldn't go anywhere. And then I just kept pulling back, rolling, sliding, pull back, roll, slide, until I had the whole thing cut away. There you go. I'll do that with a couple more, and that way I'll have some different sizes. I did them offset, not centered. I'm thinking it'll make it a little more interesting. We'll see. So that seam here, if I keep the 2 sides that were already surfaced on the lathe, and this was the part I just cut, and the side that's down on the other piece was just cut. So if I take those 2 and put them together, I could glue this up right now, and it's perfect. And that's probably what I'll end up doing. So there it is. I was thinking about cutting this one again, but I think I'm going to leave it. It's a lot of work to do all that cutting, and I've already done a lot of work to get to this point, and I think it's going to look pretty interesting like this. Alright, so that one wasn't the cleanest one, but it was also the smallest one, so I didn't want to get anywhere near that blade, so that's why I did it the way I did. I have a waste block, which I've put into my extreme jaws. They have serrated teeth down at the bottom and a good grip here. So I've got a really good grip on this first block. Then I have this block here, which is the base of my piece, glued to this sacrificial block. And I'm not using the new faceplate I made, because this is going to actually be, I'll probably turn away right about here, something like that, or maybe even right about there. Somewhere in there is where I'll be getting rid of this base. And then I just glued this section on, which is my first segmented ring, and I made it the same exact size, and that way I could go around and just line it up, and you can see it's within 128th of an inch of being exactly on center. So there's very little run out on this piece right here. And then I'll be resurfacing this on this side, even though it's really close now. I'll be resurfacing that and then gluing my next ring on. I just torch treated all this wood here now, which does a couple things. It cauterizes the ends, and then, as you can see, it's sort of what it does is it vulcanizes the glue and squeezes the air bubbles out. And then, since it's under a little bit of pressure, as this cools down, it will suck itself together and it dries a little bit quicker. I'm still going to let this dry overnight before I do any crazy turning on it, but it allows me to move on to the next ring fairly quickly. Alright, so I have vulcanized the inside of this, dried up the glue, and then I've removed the tailstock here after turning down. First I turned down this edge, then I removed the tailstock and vulcanized this inside edge. Now I'm just going to let this cure up here. I'm going to resurface this edge so that my next ring can go on, and I'll be able to do that pretty quickly here once this is all kind of cooled down. It's still a little warm. I'll let it cool, kind of dry up a little bit more, and then I'll try gluing the next ring on. Okay, so now I have just heated it up again, vulcanized it, and now I still have tailstock pressure on, and just roughing it in. There we go. This piece likes to be cut this way. Alright, so I just heated up the inside, and now I put the pressure back on. So I've cauterized or vulcanized the inside of the glue, and now I'm applying a little tiny bit of tailstock pressure while it cools. Alright, so I'm ready for the next ring. Then it's only been a few minutes, and I've surfaced this off, and now this fitment is absolutely beautiful. And now coming in, I'm gluing up my next ring. And then what I'll do, get a little light right here. A little more pressure, turn this way down on speed. Okay, that looks real good. It's really close. And here's a little trick that I'll use sometimes. before I tighten it up. Okay, that's within 128th of an inch. Now, tighten off my tailstock, give it a little clamp. There we go. Move that out of the way. And okay, that has now been vulcanized there. And then I let that cool for a few minutes. I hope it doesn't have bad results, but I'll do that. I get rid of the excess glue. I smush it into the corners here. And now heating it up from the inside and then coming back in here, making sure I'm equally pressured and giving it a little squeeze while it cures. And there you go, that's part of my new vulcanization process. All right, don't forget, wear your safety, man. Wear your safety. If you want to turn for a long time, wear your safety. All right, I got my tailstock tightened up, my quilts locked off, everything's spinning nice and true other than my pressure stick. And all I'm going to do right now is start working a little bit on some of this shaping. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of hollowing on this, but not too much. All right, there's a good start to this piece. And get a good start to the hollowing too. I'm leaving it about a 5/8 inch wall thickness for right now. And then I'll come back once I glue my next couple rings on and refine that. And whoops, and it's a little thinner because I have this step. It's thinner down in this zone than it is up here. So this is down in the finished area, down to about 5/16, and then this I will trim some more of that away. 3/8 to 5/16 here. Still have all these rings here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rings. That's 2, that's 1, and that's 2. They're in the order they're going to go on. This one next, then this one, then that one. Then I step back down and I'll make some kind of a feature rim cap, probably with some kind of maple in it or something. Alright, so I added another ring here. And it's looking real nice. It's running really true. As you can see, hopefully you can see that. Very true. And I'm real happy with it. I'm going to leave that alone and just let that cure up. Alright, so here's where I got to on this yesterday. And I've got it hollowed out all the way down into the bottom. And I have 2 new rings on here that I need to blend in. And then I'll be ready to put the next ring on. Alright, so now I'm using my homemade steady rest that I welded up some parts here. And this works really well. If I had it to do again, I would make a little modification to this. I would have done a slightly bigger gap here. It's a little tight. But other than that, it works really well. Okay, I'm doing some hollowing now. Okay, so now my piece is running from here up to here. I'm going to be doing some refining. I have lots of wall thickness in here. I have another ring to add that's about the same thickness as this, so I'm going to stay fairly similar size and shape, get rid of some of this in here, and then hollow out a bunch of that there. But I just moved my steady rest out a little further. So yeah, I moved my steady rest out just past that glue line right there, as you can see. Boom. And I think it looks like this is going to be a pretty interesting piece here. I left this one section here larger to be like the center bulbous sort of a feature ring, but it's just the features of the grain. Oh, this whole piece I'm just doing out of walnut, but because every piece is going to be so unique, I think it's still going to look pretty stunning. Okay, I'm doing a little refining up here. I'm watching the back edge. All right, a little more hollowing. I'm going around 730 RPM. You know what? I'm going to do the thicker one first, just because then as I'm cutting through the top rim, I'll expose through it the curve of it, the other layer of white, and it'll be maybe a little more interesting. At least that's what I'm thinking. We'll see. I just did a little bit of detail work up here. Put those two rings on and did some shaping. Running out of memory, so just showing some of what I finished up here. A little bit of sanding, and this is kind of like a tall urn vase, and it should be real pretty once it's all done. Okay, I'm just shaping the edge here. All right, I'm going to start putting some Yorkshire grit on this. Thank you for watching another episode of The Naked Turner. I hope this vase was inspirational for you, and if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, make a comment, and share if you so desire. Thank you, take care, and safe turning.